or converting it to two piece. If it's up to me, it's a two piece, but I'm going to want to make a decision. It's a two pieces of fit to get, whereas these are like around about 100 to 120 hours. And I've already done it enough times now, which is I just want it to fit, set to get that from the old sheet so we can have a look at the cat mount. That's what this one is in for, so for somebody got whether this will actually make the following season this year, I don't know. There's a lot of work involved in the repair project. Have new centre stars in the wings. The outer wings are wooden construction, whereas the inner wings, sub wings, and inboard of the engine, they have steel spars, and it was designed, don't ask me why, in such a way it's like amhedral, so all the water runs to the end, and there's no way for it to get out. And of course they don't corrode. So this has had all of that replaced, and they're just finishing off the fabric work underneath, and then once that painting, which should be next week, we can then look at taking out the ground and things like that. So this will be flying again later this year. Like I said, privately owned. And the guy that owns it is the guy that set up Jet 2. So he's not short of a penny or two. He retired a couple of years ago and they gave him a massive bonus when he left. So we spent it.
What's the engines?
They're having GT6s, so they're 600. As you can see, it's the start of the 60-degree overhead counter 12 Rolls-Royce did, and they stuck with this pattern all the way through until the Rolls-Royce Griffin. So from World War I right through to the beginning of World War II and the middle of World War II, it stayed exactly the same. It was just they went for an enclosed block as opposed to individual liners, and they're all water-cooled 60-degree V12s. And you'll notice on the front here we have the shutters to control radiator temp, and there's a hole right at the top, and that was for your machine gun, so the gun pilot could fire, rested, and went between the cylinder blocks, and then past the propeller. And when you're testing the engine, we do what we call a mag drop. So you run it up to a certain horsepower, this one has zero boost on that. And then you turn one mag off, and then you allow a certain amount of RPM drop, and then you turn it back on, it comes back on and do the other side. And that just lets you know you haven't got a dodgy spark plug or anything, or a bad mag. Propeller, if you give a tap on the top.
See that mag there? That's the same as on motorbikes. You know why they use mags? Because no one is brave enough to, or can afford to, electronic ignition, you've got to get it past the same.
Your crank shaft is bolted to the airframe, and then your cylinders and crankcase all go around with the prop. And it works really well. The difficulty you have with it is obviously you have a gyroscopic effect of this huge mass rotating at the front, which wasn't too bad when you were having 100 horsepower through it. By the time we got to the Bentley, you were looking at well over 200 horsepower. The engine's a lot bigger, it's spinning a much bigger prop. And the gyroscopic effect was much worse. The gyroscopic effect will have a tendency to work at 90 degrees to whatever you do to the aeroplane. So the first thing you want to do on takeoff is lift the tail. As you lift the tail, the engine goes down, and as the engine goes down, the gyroscopic effect makes the aeroplane do that, and then you end up disappearing off into a hedge somewhere. The other big problem you have is the carburettor is so far away from the engine, back here, attached to your end of your crankshaft. And they have what they refer to as a fine adjustment and force adjustment. So you have an air slide for your air, and you have a mixture needle. So you have to control the mixture needle and then the air flow. So you have to control the two at the same time. The carburation one was a little bit tricky. If you got it very rich, what would happen, because it takes so long to travel from here and then up to your cylinders, by the time you realise it's gone rich, it's gone very, very rich and the engine will stop. So what they came up with, when you come into land, you get the engine running nicely and then there's a button on top of the stick, and as you push that, that cuts the ignition. So to slow the engine down, you'll hear them going rip, 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 and that's them cutting the ignition to try and slow the engine down.
I wish that people knew how much I want to fly, as it fatigues me just sitting here on standby. I am old, no longer rusty, and my Merlin heart yearns for more, for the days when I was free, not stuck behind that hangar door. Will you come and look at me, and listen to the tales of my history? Even with my bumps and scars, can you hear my beating heart? Soldiers look at me and say, I am beauty, I am pride, as I cherish all their memories when I flew by their forefathers' side.